everyone, to the this is our first podcast, the Real Estate Wealth Institute podcast. Very straightforward podcast. We're excited about it. I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Jeffrey Cohn. We're helping host this and get this off the ground. We've been in real estate for 28 plus years. We have a background as attorney, real estate investor, and we've been in that mix for a long period of time and helped launch the Real Estate Wealth Institute. I'm going to bring up our host, Mr. Rafael Norat. Call's all yours.
Oh man, I'm excited just being in this room. We got some heavy hitters, We know these guys pretty well. We're gonna get to know them even better, and you guys even more. So you guys are gonna get to know these individuals as well too. So Jeff is very humble, man. Sitting here saying he just put this together, a little shindig here for this Sunday afternoon and so forth. But look, it's a first. Look, this is first ever Real Estate Wealth Institute podcast. So we're excited. But with that said, my name is Rafael, born and raised in Jersey. I live in Jacksonville, Florida now, 07065. I'll always be from Jersey. I always tell people that REWI, New Jersey, that's where it all started. And you know, we primarily built up in the Northeast before we pivoted in Real Estate Wealth Institute and went virtual over 40 cities, over 55,000 members and growing. But today, look, you guys want to learn about that Mondays, Tuesdays, we got calls. You're going to learn all about that. But today we are very excited to kick off the first ever Real Estate Wealth Institute podcast with two amazing individuals. I don't just say that because I know them, but look, I got time. Over the years, we've gotten to know each other, but these guys, especially in the real estate space, you know, especially now that we look at as real estate just going virtual since COVID hit us and gave us the opportunity to be able to collaborate in ways that we would not have been able to meet these gentlemen, and you're able to do so today as well too. So I want them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to run through a little bit about what they're doing, and you know, and I know they're going to give out some of their tips and secrets, but not all of them. I know Mr. Jeffrey Taylor. He's gonna let you know a little bit what's under the hood of what he does, but not everything. That's you know, but you're gonna be excited to hear from these guys. But let's get it started. You know, I want to introduce the first guy.
So awesome! No, awesome. So the like just the how we're gonna structure it is basically very simple. We go around a room. The first we start with Mr. Rafael Norat. I know you've been in the real estate for a long period of time, so I want to tell your backstory, like a little bit how you got involved, and then we're gonna just hit some news, some topics that are going in the news, and give your opinions about it, and then we're going to do introduction of our guest today. We have Derek Hankins, very successful real estate investor. He's been helping run the Real Estate Wealth Institute in the Southeast. I want to say Southeast, but definitely running the Raleigh market and doing business there. And we got another gentleman that we're going to introduce in a little bit. His name is Jeffrey Taylor. People that have come to our events have met him. Successful in the financial industry. He's come from the Midwest, but he does business L.A., New York, everything in between. So we're going to have him talk. But Mr. Rafael Norat, I know people know you a little bit, but I know you want to speak a little bit about like your journey in real estate a little bit so people get to know you.
Absolutely. Look, man, I'm just so excited to hear about these guys today and let you guys, let everyone out there hear about these guys. But look, my background, you know, I was an engineer for the Army for 17 years of my life. You know, design weapons for the soldiers that go out there, protect us, and love what I did. But I had a family situation. I had a family member whose health went south on us, and the engineering income, my brother's income, my father's pension, not a 401k, but a pension, just could not cover what we needed in terms of medical costs and so forth. And that's what drove me into real estate. You know, I had a contractor from Rancho Cucamonga, California, that he was overlooked from a promotion from not going to mention the company. Not going to mention the company. He was overlooked for a promotion. And he just brought up to me, man, I was in California. He's like, in the last 5 years, I accumulated 10 single family residencies in Los Angeles because he was outpriced. He's like, and you know, that's it. I'm not worried about things anymore. So yeah, I always talk about pulling a thread. You know, that was enough to make me realize, you know, okay, let me at least look into this. You know, I I had to take action, especially when something like that happens. Biggest thing we coach in real estate is about taking action. I took action. I jumped in, pulled out 20 grand from a home equity that I had and parlayed that into close to 200K in terms of lines of credit and was outpriced the Jersey. I only had about 20 grand in Jersey. I would have had to go to Passaic, East Orange, so forth. In those areas, I would have gotten my money taken. I would have gotten everything taken because of the fact, coming into real estate industry, especially Jersey, because Jersey is a very competitive, just well established. I did not know anyone. I took a flyer on somebody that was on a website saying they were promoting 20 cap properties in Pennsylvania. People were saying this guy's a fraud. This that can't be real. I said perfect, and that's why I jumped in. Went to go see properties and meet him for about 3 4 months, and then I developed a baseline from there. Man, I set a goal of 20 units in 3 years, and I accumulated a little over 40 units in 3 years. Took care of our family situation in 2019, left and never looked back, and then left my job, got punched in the face for about 2 3 years, because you leave and you try and figure out what to do and you forget your game plan. You forget your game plan. But luckily, everything stabilized. Real estate always an asset to start with, REWI, Real Estate Wealth Institute came along a little after that. Then we went nationwide, and man, here I am, blessed to be on this call today.
Love it, excited, and we've been working with Raphael for close to 6 years now. I think 6 years, closer to in this past five
That's
years,
crazy.
and we've
That's crazy.
done a lot of transactions, and he's helped a lot of people mentor in our space. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions because part of the real estate wealth institute is always designed around action, activity, connection and networking, and we decided to do a podcast just to highlight a lot of the leaders in our space. You're one of the mentors in our space, but also there's timely information that as
Mm.
the market changes, there's things that are going on and there's ways to look at it. So I'm going to ask you, Raphael, a couple of questions, and you could answer them, and then we'll continue from there. But there's an election that just happened last Monday, right? And I tend to put the positive spin on everything. So, hey, real estate developers reelected. Oh, great! I take it. Good, good, good.
Um,
But what's your take on that? What should people be looking for? What do you foresee? What are you gonna do? What's your game plan? What's your game plan regarding that?
well, man, my game plan is kind of the it's really the same game plan it's been from where I first started. And a lot of that has just been from hanging out with you guys, over the last 5 6 years. So you just gotta buy right, keep your numbers right and buy right. So my game plan is pretty much the same thing as like 2012 when I got started. Buy properties at 50 cents on the dollar if that's what I'm doing. Or now we do arbitrage or so forth. But game plan is just building out the network and building out solid individuals that we run with, and then seeing what opportunities come about, whether it's purchasing, whether it's mobile, looking at mobile homes, whether it's short-term rental arbit, whatever it is, letting the network build out, and then being able to make those purchases or make those investments as efficient as possible, which I think we've just done an incredible job, within the group, as well too. I don't think the presidency never. I don't think it's going to really matter, all that much. I think it's going to shake things up absolutely, and there's always it's going to create obstacles, and that obviously is going to create opportunities. If you're running with a good group, then the opportunities are going to be there. Who knows what the hell is going to happen, in this next year, next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I mean, I think you have a businessman that's the president now, so that's shaking up government in general. So it's pretty cool. I honestly think government's been run as a nonprofit for probably over the last decade. So now you have a business person in there that look whether this ain't about right or wrong. This is about the fact it's been running as a nonprofit, and that hasn't worked. That hasn't worked. So now you got somebody that's coming in and just completely just bulldozing through stuff, you know. It's gonna create some good things, gonna create some bad things, but it's good. Those bad things are gonna create obstacles, and that's gonna create opportunities. And us together, and look, just this lineup in and of itself, I'm not fearful of anything because people are always gonna need real estate, and the opportunities are gonna be there. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
And a touch one last question directly to you, Raphael. We're looking at CNBC said mortgage rates aren't likely to fall anytime soon, and they give a whole directive. And this past year that just passed, it was the lowest sales home sales,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
since I started real estate in '96, so I didn't realize in '95 was a lowest point. So I haven't experienced this low sales. So what's your take in terms of forecasting 2025 for many people that are looking?
Man, it to me it's like a heavyweight battle between it's gonna be like a heavyweight battle between the Federal Reserve and the presidency because the Federal Reserve has about I don't even know how many scientists they got about 200 people on their panel. Science is like scientists versus a businessman that's coming in because he's already clamoring saying, Look, you guys got to drop the rates." So it's I honestly think the rates are gonna, I mean, if I had to bet on it, I would have to say that the rates are that Trump's gonna win on that. Rates are gonna wind up coming down, on it because it's leverage. I think he's gonna push, but you got so many other aspects. Who knows with whatever other policies and so forth, that who knows if the market's gonna go up, the market's gonna go down because income hasn't changed in the last decade. It's just been stuck. So that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing I'll give. They're trying to bump that up. It's a matter of what works. To me it's a boxing match. It's a boxing match, and it's who winds up hitting hard. Who winds up getting the right shots in. And so who knows? Who knows? But if I had to bet, I would say the rates are gonna come down and the market's gonna open up. Development's gonna
In
increase for sure.
25, you think?
20, yeah, yeah. I would say in 2025, I would probably see it probably towards third quarter, fourth quarter. I would if I had to bet right now, I would look. It ain't about right or wrong. I would bet on Trump right now. If I had to bet between the Federal Reserve and Trump, because that's essentially what's going to wind up being a battle, I'd bet on Trump. I think he's just gonna muscle him.
He'll get his
And
way.
and if you got over 200 scientists on the staff trying to figure out the economy, I think that they're gonna cut that down. They should cut that down to 10. That's too many, So I think he's good. Either way, I think we're gonna be in a good position
I love
to
it.
help and monetize from it.
Love it. And we got a gentleman here. He's from the North Carolina marketplace. As from Philly, but North Carolina. He likes that. He likes that. He's an investor. He's one of the mentors in our space as well for real estate. I wanted Derek Hankins to introduce himself and kind of let people know a little about him. And calls all yours, Derek.
Thanks, Jeff, and great information, Raphael. We appreciate you as always. My name is Derek Hankins. I'm a full-time investor out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been doing investing since 2007 when I had a 9 to 5. Jeff always says he didn't know me back then, but of course, So I'm a full-time investor now after working on within a certain insurance company for a long, long time. And we'll get into a little bit about insurance in a minute, but when I was let go. And North Carolina is a no tell you about it state, so I couldn't even talk about it. So,
Mm.
but at any rate, that spurred me, and that was years ago, but it spurred me to go ahead and start investing full time. Sometimes you need a kick in the pants, and that's what I got, a kick in the pants. And it was great because it allowed me to start betting on myself, which I love doing. So, fast forward, years and years ago. So I started my real estate journey, through a guy, a friend of a friend that I didn't know, and he became my mentor. And I was working a third shift IT job at that point, and it just kept going. And, I was working third shift and then flipping houses in the daytime, and I was just soaking it all up. So after he showed me how to flip one house, I went ahead and just started doing it myself, by hook or by crook, so, and that led to where I am today. Today, I am a mentor with the Real Estate Wealth Institute. I also handle their Raleigh network and chill events, and also the availableHomesForSale.com that we have. But also, I have mentees of my own that I help showing them how to flip a house. And, because of my background and the things that I've learned at the Real Estate Wealth Institute, it has definitely made me more successful than I was just doing it by myself. What I've learned is collaboration is the key, and networking is the key to success in real estate. If you do not network, your business will not grow. That's just the bottom line. And people like Raphael and Jeff have shown me different ways to do things and help me build my collaborative, build my collaborative, get my collaborative juices going. And I really appreciate them for that. So that's my business in a nutshell. And I'm in the middle of a flip right now. People texting me right now about, hey, this has been done, this is not done. So real estate doesn't stop, even when you're in the podcast. So
Love it. I love it. I love it. And I got a couple of questions for you. I know you went out to LA. I know we established the LA market a couple of years ago for
yeah,
Real Estate Wealth Institute, and then you went out there last Saturday. I think it's last
yeah.
Saturday. I believe last Saturday.
About 2 Saturdays ago,
Two
I think.
Saturdays ago,
Yeah,
and I know we had what's been going on with the fires raging all across the country, and I was looking at an article here from CNN this week. It says, well, you'll pay for the LA fires even if you don't live near LA. So they're talking about how this the increase of the cost of homeowners insurance was already going through the roof. But now it's getting worse. But you have a little bit of background in that. You're in the real
yeah.
estate space. So I know you could guide some folks, especially from people in the Los Angeles market, but just in general. Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I just have a couple things. So the big fires in LA didn't become big until about 2016, and insurers, what they don't have is the tools and the money to make the risks, palatable for their business model. So it's not just size, but it's size by surprise. Just remember that, size by surprise, because what's happening is the insurers don't know when these things are going to happen. So, now I'll give you an example. Like if a person has replacement cost for their home, then they're in good shape. They can replace the home, they can take it somewhere else, they can build somewhere else, they can buy somewhere else. But if you don't know insurance at all and your agent is just trying to, get some, money from you, and we're talking about a property and casualty insurance, which is homes, cars, and things of this nature, and we won't even talk about what they did to people's cars and stuff like that. But, if you have that, then you're fine, but I was reading and looking into this, and they said that the LA fires could cost as much as 250 billion in economic damage. Now that's economic damage, and it could become one of the worst natural disasters in the US, equaling that of Katrina in economic losses, adjusted for inflation, of course, but one of the solutions that they're going to be looking at right now is called parametric insurance. And parametric insurance is basically the same thing like flood insurance, hurricane insurance, earthquake insurance, which they already know about in California. So looks like a lot of insurers are going to go to that model because they cannot figure out when these things are going to happen, and they cannot remain solvent if they keep having these type of fires, because once the fires happen and they sustain those losses, there's no really getting that money back, because we all know how insurance work. We all pay for the people who have the losses more than anything. You could not have a loss, and all that. So the sad part about it is, though, insurers, there's a lot of insurers who've left, or scaled back in California, and not only is it going to be hard to get insurance, but it's going to be so exorbitant, because flood insurance, like we have insurance here, we use it a lot in North Carolina because we have a lot of floods and things. you can't even buy flood insurance. You have to purchase it 6 months before you need it.
Mm.
Now think about that. So imagine you already have these your insurance is already high because of people about to move out the market, and now you have to do parametric insurance uh for the LA fires, for fires.
But
It's
but
more than just fire insurance. It's not fire insurance.
but just to clarify, when they say fires, well, there's like the house fire where you just basically
No, that's
like,
that's
cooking
that's regular
gas,
fire insurance. This would be something totally
wildfire
different.
insurance. I got
Yes,
a
wildfire
wildfire
insurance.
insurance.
You got to have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now people are going to be like, well, if you get a wildfire and your house burned down, if it burned down from you doing something or something like that, that's different. You good. But if it's a wildfire, sorry.
Oh,
And the thing about it is, and I'll just go ahead and tell you, I'm going to list some of the people who are some of the companies that have left or are scaling back. Allstate, American National, AM Guard, Chubb, Falls Lake, Farmers, Nationwide, State Farm. So when they're scaling back and moving out, what are you going to do? Honestly, it's the same thing that happened in Florida. They did the same thing in Florida. So, just those situations like that are really, really tough for the people living out there. It's a lot going on. But the people really need help. The people really, really need help. And we'll get into something else about the government and things of this nature, but it's just really a tough situation for those, because if a person, first of all, it's already expensive out there, but if a person is living paycheck to paycheck,
yeah.
or there's just no extra room for you to buy this kind of insurance. So,
And they pass it off to the renters, things of that nature.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes, we'll get into that with the price gouging and all that. It's amazing.
And that's the second question for you is there's an article here, Fox Business News, LA wildfires drive surge in rental housing prices, prompting price gouging concerns. So what's your take on that? What's going on over there?
Well, in this case, the government is trying to do something really. When I say the government, I mean the Governor Gavin Newsom. So after the fires, he signed an executive order that made it illegal to increase the cost of hotels, housing, rentals, and things of this nature, and any other goods, gas, more than 10%. That sounds good. Yeah. So
sounds good to me.
we got some rules in place, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter because I was reading an article in Fortune magazine. It listed rents soared more than 200% in parts of LA after the wildfires, despite the anti-gouging rules. So let me give you an example. A Washington Post analysis of listing data from RentCast found that LA County rents jumped 20% overall 2 weeks. 2 weeks after the fires compared to the 2 weeks before. And then individual neighborhoods in the areas saw steeper inclines. So I'll give you an example, and Jeff may know where this is. So Glendora, which is a half hour away from the fires in Altadena,
Yes.
soared 150% to a median monthly rate of $4,974. That's unbelievable. Now, you think everybody in Beverly Hills has money, and they do. But in Beverly Hills, rents for the townhouses, and I'm not laughing at it, it's just amazing. Rents for the townhouses surged 142%, to 15,000.
That's crazy.
We lost Jeffrey. He'll be back in just a minute, I'm sure.
Yes.
But, so even when you drill down to the zip codes, it's even bigger. I won't even get into all that. It's just really bad.
And if you look at I know people make more. Let's say on average, the median income is higher in California than in other states, but it's still you're still talking about let's say, just if you look it up, Glendora, California, median household is $100,000 a year.
Right.
Median. So it means
which is good in most places, but
not,
here you go.
There.
Yeah, but if you have 100,000 there, you can barely buy a house.
Yeah.
I know people right now who live there who make over $100,000 and can't find a $500,000 house.
Correct. Correct.
And that's, you know,
And
half
if
a
the
million
price
in
goes
Raleigh.
up, if the price
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
up, you know, craziness.
So, but one ray of light, and you take it for what it is. I'm not, you know, I'm not appraising them or anything else, but you know, platforms like Airbnb, you know, have offered housing to the evacuees,
Oh, that's good.
which is great. I mean, that's awesome. I don't know how much, but at least they're trying to do something. And the state attorney general has already charged a realtor for increasing rents by 38% on a couple displaced by the fire. They lost their home. They tried to find this. They went to this realtor. He jacked the price up by 38%.
Oh, that's messed up.
And now he's facing charges for that. Good for them. Good for them. And then, so unfortunately, the loss of, you know, the thousands of in the housing market is making it even tighter because, you know, LA's market is tight already.
Yeah,
You
correct.
know, so, and you know what I said on the last podcast, they're trying to build out to make it, you know, to cover the spread of the housing shortage that we have.
Yeah.
It'll never work because it's gonna take years for it to catch up for the builders.
Yeah, it says
So
the 12,000
yeah,
structures.
and then lastly, Trump's regime, whether you're for him or against him, that's not the part of the call. But it's now stating that to get aid to California, it's coming with strings. One is a voter ID law. And the second is crazy. And the second is water flow conditions. He wants them to release some type of water flow that will mitigate the fires. And I haven't seen what he's talking about yet because I can't find any information on it. But the voter ID, see, now it's political.
Yeah.
These people are struggling and suffering. And now we have our president saying, oh, yeah, we'll help you, but you're going to change the voter ID laws first.
That's tough. That's tough. That's
Unbelievable.
Crazy. That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Awesome. So we're gonna bring up. We got another gentleman here. He's no stranger to the Real Estate Wealth Institute. I know if you come to we have just, you know, if you go to rewealthinstitute.com or rewicorp.com, rewicorp.com, you can see all the event schedule. We have in-person events around the country, virtual events Mondays and Tuesdays. But this gentleman, you'll see him a lot of times. You want to connect with him, we'll have his information on the website. But he's a gentleman that comes on. He's in the financial industry. Mr. Jeffrey Taylor, I want you to share your story and kind of let people know who you are. Call's all yours.
Wow, I am in the company of the real estate generals, head by its fearless leader, Mr. Jeffrey Rincon. I salute you, gentlemen. Hey, good afternoon. It's good to see everybody. Why should you believe anything that I have to say? If I could open with that, this is my 38th year in financial services. In 2002, when the market crashed, people lost half of their money, I had a group of clients. Did they lose any money? No, they did not. 2008 comes around. Again, what happens? 40% of the market is lost. People lost their savings. And now, because of the real estate bubble, property values were also being negatively impacted. But my clients who took advantage of the information that I was providing at the time, we were able to protect them from losing their property equity. For a lot of those folks, it saved their lives because they did not participate in the loss of their property equity, nor did they participate in the market losses. Many people thought I was some kind of seer or a prophet or something, but I'm just Carol Taylor's son from the west side of Detroit and happened to be surrounded by some very smart people and was teaching their strategies. And here we go, fast forward almost 20 years. Real estate investors love me. And the reason why is because our number one rule is never lose money. Our number two rule is never run out of money. So what has happened is that I've interviewed nearly 3,000 people over the course of my career, many of them being real estate investors. And as you've heard today, you've heard some of the problems and crises that real estate investors run into. We talk about those things up front. What happens when? You have economic change. What happens when there is financial crisis? And what type of an investor do you want to be? Do you want to be proactive or do you want to be reactive? We just heard a compelling story with Raphael's family. Someone becomes ill. I was talking with an investor, built a large multi-million-dollar empire. What happens? He has a heart attack. Course of that, a year later, everything's gone. Why? Because he could not maintain that and keep his health together. Had he known me at that time, we would have protected him for that. We would have been able to protect all of his real estate and make sure that he got the care that he needed, because he would have been prepared for what? Economic change. So my position is really teaching real estate investors how to be forward thinkers and to think outside the box. And I think at this time I approve this message, and I can probably get an amen if I ask for one.
Amen. Amen. Mr. Taylor. So to kind of touch a little bit more about yourself, like, and what you do specifically. What are things that you recommend, like, or resources that you can provide for real estate investors? Whether new, and I always say new because a lot of people want to get in. I always tell people, hey, we want to get into the real estate space. Great wealth building conversation, but then it becomes a grown up business very quickly. So you new. Intermediate level where you're like trying to figure it out, or scaled up level, like if you want to touch on some of those, like what are, like, if someone's brand new, what would be the path that Jeffrey Taylor would, like, the recipe, your prescription, what would you give them to do?
Well, of course, you're going to send them to the Real Estate Wealth Institute, of course, and get involved in one of those clinics. I am a man of scripture, and I oftentimes quote scripture in my conversations. And Hosea talks about the fact that his people were destroyed for two reasons. Not because he didn't go to church, not because he didn't go to Sunday school, but because of a lack of knowledge and the rejection of knowledge. So most of the crisis that I see is because of a lack of knowledge. A lack of knowledge is going to come back to hurt you. Real estate investing is a serious business. It is not a game. And you're going to run into people who do not have your best interest. You're going to run into people who do not have your finances as their best interest. So you have to take some time to get educated first. One of the books that I recommend that everyone reads is Misfortune 101 by Doug Andrews. Now you get me started here. But the fundamental that we teach is how do you position yourself for any crisis, while at the same time building profit. And we do that by focusing on three fundamental concepts. The rule number one is we want to double the property equity value regardless of market conditions. One of the things we've learned is that if you do not control your equity will control you. If you do not control the interest that you pay, the interest that you are paying is going to control you. You've got to get control of those two elements. The second piece of that is learning how to double your cash reserves. Ladies and gentlemen, if real estate is queen, then what is king?
Cash.
Cash.
Good answer, Jeff. That came through, man.
I was like, I don't know the answer, but I can guess it.
Cash. Because regardless if we're talking about the best of times or the worst of times, everybody runs to who? To the bank.
The bank.
Yep.
Why? Because real estate is queen.
But cash is king.
Cash is king. And he who has the cash gets to marry the queen.
I love it, Mr. Taylor. I love it. Good stuff. Good stuff. So just we do a little round table here now, but I want to ask you a question. We got a new president. Well, it is what it is. Like good, bad, ugly. We tend not to be so political because it's like the weather. Like like it's gonna be winter, it's gonna be fall, it's gonna be spring, and you could complain at the sky, man. Or you just do stuff about it. But what are some of the changes you expect in the district? What do you see?
Yeah. There was a gentleman by the name of Jim Rome,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a counsel to the brightest businessmen in the world. And he was asked by them, what should we be doing in these times? And he says, well, just as the sun rises and the moon rises, so will life. And the point he was making is that life is going to happen regardless of the decisions that you make. The point is that you prepare for the sunrise. You prepare for the sun going down. You prepare for it. And real estate investors are notorious for not being prepared for economic change.
Mm-hmm.
They are notorious for not being prepared for a financial crisis. And that's because they don't understand that real estate is queen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Cash is king.
Cash is king. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it.
But when you marry those together and we begin to think like the bank, and we can merge these two ideologies. So as I'm building my real estate empire, I should also be building my cash reserve. I should not be compromising one for the other, but learning how do I merge the two so that my cash reserves is growing and I become more economically strong as I'm building my real estate empire. I become more economically strong, and then learning the concept and ideology and the art and science that the bank teaches, doubling my property equity artificially at the same time, doubling my cash reserves artificially at the same time, where I literally can control rate of return. I can literally produce rate of return. Why? Because I got cash.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm trying not to talk too much. I said don't give it all away, so I'm trying to hold back a little bit. But that's just what we teach. Is we want the investor to become the partner with the bank and not a borrower of the bank, because the bank treats you in direct relationship to your knowledge.
Yes.
Everyone is not treated the same. And when you go in with your hand out, can you do me a favor, Mr. Bankman? Miss Bankman? Even if you qualify, I promise you, the qualified individual or the knowledgeable person goes in with a much better offer than what you got, because you just don't know.
Right. Yeah, the banks need people to move their money so they can provide interest payments, and make profit. And we got Mr. Derek Hankins. You didn't get a chance to really weigh in on this. So we got a new president. Good, bad, or ugly. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of the changes you expect to see?
Well, I look at it from a different perspective, because everybody wants to say, okay, Trump is going to do this, he's going to do that, he's going to do that. No matter what you say, he's going to do some good things and he's going to do some things that you're not going to like. But as far as real estate is concerned, any good real estate investor should know how to pivot, because sometimes, and we don't go by who's president. We go by how the market is, what cycle the market is in. He became president, but I believe we were in a downturn market anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking at it like, oh, he's going to bring us out. Now he's going to do some things that's going to make it fluctuate somewhat. We talked about the interest rates and things of this nature. Yeah. Me, when I'm flipping house, it's different ways. If I'm buying and holding a property, I'm looking at the interest rates. But if I'm flipping a house, I'm looking at it, but not right away. So I'm not as concerned until I'm selling, to make sure, okay, where's the interest rate for people that want to buy this house for me? So if I'm doing a buy and hold or I'm doing something else, yeah, I'm looking at it like, okay, I want the best interest rate off the bat. I need that. I need that. And then I'm looking at one of my biggest things is tax strategies. I need to know if he's going to do something that's going to help me on my taxes, because it's not just about, like some of the things Jeffrey was saying, it's not just about what you buy, it's how much you have and hold on to. If you're going to if you're going to do this and you don't have the right tax strategies. Now, if he goes and does something weird with the taxes, which I doubt, because as Raphael said, he's an investor. So he's making moves so that things can move around in that sector. So if you're an investor, just make sure you know what your business is doing and not just, oh, I'm just an investor. I want to buy a house. I want to do this. Know your tax strategies. Know the interest rate cycle that we're in and things of this nature. Real estate is more than just buying and selling homes. We got to understand that. So I would suggest that anybody who's trying to get into the game or in the game, find somebody like Jeffrey Taylor, find a great accountant, make sure your team, it has you set up for success, and don't let everybody tell you what to do. Figure some things out on your own so that you can take hold of your own life.
Love it.
In real estate. So
love it. And then we're gonna hit another change the topic a little bit. Mr. Taylor's here. He's from the west side of Detroit, right? West side of Detroit. Carol Taylor's son, right? So there was an article in Detroit Free Press, basically saying Detroit ranks number two in the fastest growing real estate market since the pandemic. So if I give the list real quick, just to kind of give you like a bird's eye view. So St. Petersburg, Florida, number 10, grew 61%. San Bernardino, California, Riverside area grew a lot. We expected. Newark, New Jersey grew a lot. We've been beating that up on the calls, how the prices went up. We can't get into that too much. Port St. Lucie went up 64%. Buffalo, New York, been a hot market. Tampa, Florida, went up 69%. Miami, Florida, went up 70%, which is not a surprise, I don't think. Fayetteville, well, right, I know the number 3. I know Derek been putting in work. Fayetteville, North Carolina, he's been putting in work.
Everybody,
he's been putting in work, right? And then you got Irvine, California, number 1, 82%, and then Detroit went up from 46,000 median up to 80,000 median. 72%. So we talk about your backyard. We start with Mr. Taylor. What's going on there? Why the prices all of a sudden almost doubled?
Well, okay. Detroit has been a depressed market for so long. This is just like everything else is cyclical. Detroit has its own economy. You can tell what's going to happen with the rest of the country by following Detroit. If Detroit is a barometer, we are the front of the train. So if you see us having problems, then you're going to see other cities and other states having problems. Unfortunately, because we are one industry town, we are very susceptible to economic change. I think the challenge that we're going to see moving forward, I was kind of pulling up some data here, and I think the problem that we're going to have is the fact that I don't think the growth is sustainable because you don't have enough Detroiters who can afford these higher prices. So you have a lot of investors coming to Detroit, but I think a year from now, they're going to be disappointed because it's just not enough. They can afford a $200,000 house. And you have investors who are coming in and doing wonderful things of upgrading and upkeep and all of that kind. And then we're running off of the tail end of a winning football team. That doesn't hurt either. But somebody got to be able to pay the mortgage after the game is over. Somebody got to pay that mortgage. So and if they spend it all on Lions tickets, I don't know how they're going to be able to pay that mortgage. So that's my concern. It's good to see the growth. It's good to see investment in this city, but we got to look at it from realistic eyes. And I would just say, just be careful, because I think a year from now we're going to see the realistic issue of the fact the average Detroiter just can't afford a $200,000 house.
So you're seeing like more is more bubble.
Yeah, I think again we're riding off the tail end of just some good news, and then Mayor Duggan, the machine that he's running, his machine is working, and he's done a lot of great things for the city over the last several years. All of that combining together, and again, a winning football team is, my goodness, I didn't know how much impact of a winning football team has, but it has a huge impact on the city, on the region's revenue.
Yes.
So you got a lot of people coming into Detroit to spend money.
Oh man, I love it. I love that. Look, they made a legitimate Super Bowl run, which we're gonna get into that real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see. Well, between you and me, I don't see them on the list of contenders anymore. But they made a run. They made a run. Look,
They made a run.
They made a run. Made a run. It's better than nothing.
Yeah. They got to three spots from the
Yeah.
big,
Listen, I'm an old Oiler fan, so we still excited. Division playoffs. Woo! We're excited about that. And I know we got Raphael here. Raphael, so I know that you speak linear markets a lot. When you on the calls, expansion type markets. What's your take? Why is Detroit number 2 right now on the list of the fastest growing markets in America?
Well, I think I think kind of what Jeffrey was saying. I mean, it's bottomed out for so long. I think it's the change is much easier to create a change in a market that's bottomed out like that, as opposed to other markets, as well too. So I think relatively speaking, it probably hasn't grown much in terms of other markets. If you kind of look at it like that, because Detroit's been bottomed out for quite some time, so it's had so much room for growth up. So I think I mean definitely I know we've had Detroit on our radar for quite some time. We just have so many markets across the country that we could tap into. But I think where Jeff is saying, from an affordability standpoint, obviously from an investor standpoint, look at the per room model housing and so forth, and being able to help families in that area, or help individuals in that area, workforce or so forth. So I definitely think tons of potential in there. And obviously the mayor's pushing. It kind of reminds me almost a little bit of Newark.
Yeah,
In
Newark
that
definitely came up
regards,
there.
with with how the push is. And I think Newark's done a great job in terms of building out and creating. Detroit's kind of Detroit just had so much more of a downturn, even as opposed to Newark in that regards. But that gives opportunity in there as well too. So I think that's why you see that kind of growth and that kind of potential. It's almost like a high risk stock, to where there's so much room for fluctuations, kind of like how Jeffrey Taylor's telling us there. So
So I sense a little bit of optimism there on your wording a little bit.
I
You
do.
see
I
that.
do. I think, yeah, I definitely think that there's definitely room. I think it's going to be whoever invests in there, there's going to be some volatility, in there, over the next couple of years, as it's like a risky stock to where I think you got tons of upside. You could probably go in there and look to do per room housing and really build out a portfolio, but at the same time, the infrastructure's got to grow along with it. So that's where the risk comes up. So yeah, I definitely think good possibilities. Absolutely.
And Derek, well, well, speak to both, man. First Detroit, right? But then you're in the backyard is number 3, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I saw that there. So speak to that a little bit. Let people know what's going on. But first start with Detroit.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with Detroit and spend a lot of time on that. But yeah, so when I look at Jeff made some great points. The one industry And they're trying to change that, but that takes a long time. That takes, to build something up like that to another industry for what it was known for, it takes a long time. I think one of the things that the government has to do is make it palatable by offering the incentives for companies to come there and do more than just the automotive industry. Because that's in a state of flux anyway. Who knows? They're going to Alabama. They're doing all kinds of stuff, building these plants where you're getting all these tax incentives and things of this nature. And Detroit just doesn't have that right now. But what they could do is they can build, they could make it a different type of hub. It could be healthcare. It could be IT. It could be a lot of different things that they could do because, like Jeffrey said, they can't afford a $200,000 house. And the only way to get them to be able to do something like that is bring industries and bring people there that, that the jobs can sustain that. You know what I mean? Everybody gets excited about going in and getting houses really, really cheap. But, with the cheap houses, it's a lot that comes with that too, because now you have to wait on the market to turn for you to get the proper rents. And we won't get into what the lower rents do, but the cost to fix houses, to keep fixing houses when it's lower rent is exorbitant. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, so I think I'm really looking for it. I'm waiting for that little glimmer of shine that I see that I jump in. Because I'm gonna go there for like a week and just because I don't know the market, I'm gonna go there for like a week, get some tips from Jeffrey and just be like, hey, what do I do over here? So I'm looking to do that. And the REWI is really making a push for it. So I'm really riding the coattails of what the team is doing. I'm like, yes, just like we do in Baltimore, so same thing. But as far as Fayetteville is concerned, it's a terrible market. I don't know why anybody would want to come there. But yeah, so home to the largest Army base in the country. And if you know anything about the military, their pay grades depend on what they're doing as far as, how they get paid extra money. But the market size there, and it's not just Fayetteville. So I do a lot of flips in Fayetteville, but I also have learned to go into the outside, the second and tertiary markets, because I can make the same kind of money. And people, everybody don't want to live on the Army base or live 10 minutes from the Army base, and then there's a crime factor there too. Let me just be honest. There's a crime factor there because it's a low income kind of area without the Army base. Honestly, it really is. Yeah. So, but yeah, when we start looking at markets like that, and I know we only got 5 minutes, but when we start looking at markets like that, you just got to know when to get in and, go spend some time and look up the things. When I teach my mentees how to analyze a market, we start with the number of people, what the jobs are, all these type of things you need to know. And then I go by what zip codes are moving, because if somebody says, I'm coming there, I'm going to do it, you might buy a house and it never move. I'm constantly watching the zip codes, and my team is watching the zip codes of everywhere I invest. So that's how.
Love it. So we got one last topic here that I see here: state of American middle class, right? So there's a Pew Research study, right? And it was the basic says share of Americans in the middle class has fallen since 1971. So 1971. Well, it said 27% of people were lower income, 11% were upper income, and then there 61% was middle income, right? Then now you got 30% lower income, 19% upper income. So now it's basically fallen by 10%. What's your take on that? And what does that mean to you in the real estate side?
The middle class, salaries. Let me just say this. It depends on where you are in the country, because the middle class in California is not the same as the middle.
So this study, this study adjusts for that. So this.
Okay.
So it's not just like it goes middle class, middle. I say middle income. So
okay, middle income.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that with the way things are going in the new rules that they're establishing, the middle class is the income level is just not jumping like it used to years past. It's just not moving up enough to make people bridge that gap. And the way the new, I mean, like I said before, taxes and tax laws and things of this nature, it's driving the gap higher than it's ever been. You know what I mean? So those who know how to use the rules get the move up. Those who sit back and like, tell me what to do, they're just going to stay where they are. And I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to get too much.
Love
say,
it.
you know.
Maybe Mr. Taylor. I know you speak to this a lot. So what's your take? Why is it happening, and what should we be doing about it in general, especially in the real estate context?
Has anyone ever heard of AI?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, that is not going to be the game changer. That is the game changer. Because AI is replacing people because of the fact that progress eliminates one job and it creates 10 more. So a person's willingness to change and adapt, even going into a different career, is going to be very important to thrive in the next 5 to 10 years, because AI is going to be the game changer for us as individuals, for the companies that we do business with, the communities that we live in. Those who adopt AI the fastest will have the competitive edge over everyone else. At least that's just what I think.
Love it. And we got Raphael. What's your take on that? Why is it happening, and what do you think we should be doing about it, especially in the real estate context?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for why is it happening? It's like I said, incomes have just been stagnant, as opposed to the rise of cost, for way too long, to where I think, in terms of changes, the biggest thing I think has to happen is middle class incomes have to come up, and that just hasn't come up in proportion to what everything costs, and that just hasn't happened over the last decade. To where I think even if gross profits in companies start increasing by whether it's rules, regulations, tariffs start happening, it's still going to take time to get income up to where even if rates come down this year, you're still going to have you have a larger portion of middle class people being able to afford properties, to where maybe it was 3,500 before and it drops down to 3,100, and now they could get into it. But it's still gonna be like a trickle effect, to where I don't think it's gonna have that much more of a difference. To where I think from a real estate standpoint, per room model housing in 2025 is gonna be way for us to be able to help individuals like those workers that are doing $15-17 an hour and paying whatever they're paying for rent, not even from a purchase standpoint, being able to help them in that regard. So I think, that's going to be a delayed effect. I think anything that happens in the economy, where the only thing that's going to benefit, I think, is it comes some sort of tax credits or so forth, be able to help, but that only helps so much. That still doesn't. The income is the biggest part. So I think per room, from a real estate standpoint, I think per room model housing is huge in 2025.
Awesome. We're down to the 2-minute warning. So real quick, Super Bowl winners. So Raphael, who you got?
Who do I have? I just see Buffalo winning right there. Buffalo,
That's your pick. Then we got.
I see them winning. I see them winning right now. I'm gonna go Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I think Washington. I know. Look,
They got Buffalo. That's it. Then they got Derek. Derek Hankins? What's your pick? Super Bowl.
My Eagles are up 27-15 on them Jokers, so we going all the way.
I got Eagles, and let's finish up with Mr. Taylor. What's your Super Bowl pick?
Detroit Lions.
Oh no, you're like me. I'm an Oilers fan. I'm still rooting for the Oilers, but I say Chiefs. If I had to look, I'm gonna go with the favorite Kansas City Chiefs. So I appreciate everyone getting on. Thank you so much. Remember, go to REWealthInstitute.com, or you could go to REWIcorp.com. We have the upcoming schedule. Definitely, you can connect with Mr. Taylor. We'll have his information on that. He's a REWI Pro. And we'll also have his information right. You'll see it right here, right where you get your podcast. You'll have his information to connect with him. So appreciate everyone getting on. We'll talk soon. Have a great day, everybody.